Now I can see why the Gorosei calls this ability the most ridiculous power in the world, because this chapter just proves that. Again, I'm not too sure what to think because there's a lot going on here that has no exposition, so we don't really know what's happening and we don't really know what Luffy's awakening is. Now we know it's a mythical, but it has properties of a Zoan and a Paramecia, but the context in how Luffy's using his devil fruit is something that we're in the dark. I would have never expected this fight to turn into something like this, right? Luffy using the most cartoonish abilities in the world versus the strongest and the most serious Yonko that we've ever seen so far. This is a whole different level of I don't know what is happening, but I think we will get an explanation as to how Luffy's awakening works. We already know how the Zoan aspect works, and that's how he was able to revive, but more so on the Paramecia aspect. We know that he can affect his environment, but there's something more happening in which he can actually influence the body of others. And this is absolutely insane because usually Paramecias come with one set of ability, but again, we were in the dark in terms of the awakening of mythical Zoans till now. So if this is what Luffy's awakening is, I expect Kaido's awakening to be something close to that, because both of them are mythical Zoans, and this is the first time that we're seeing a mythical Zoan awaken. So I'm starting to think that the awakenings of mythical Zoans is the best in the series. So this is probably going to go crazy when Kaido awakens. But before I keep going, I would appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video, subscribe if you're new here, and hit the bell for more One Piece content. Now let's start from the beginning. Now the title of this chapter is called Next Level, and here we come to see the abilities of Luffy's awakening, or as Luffy calls it, Gear 5. And the first thing Kaido notices about his ability is that it has the properties of an awakened Paramecia fruit, since Luffy is able to affect his surroundings by turning it into rubber. But he also notices that his transformation is a bit different, and that a form like this is more typical of a Zoan fruit transformation. And this is something that a lot of people have been theorizing for quite some time, in which they think that Luffy possesses all three types of devil fruits in his awakening. We've seen the Paramecia aspect, we've seen the Zoan aspect. Is there a possibility that a Logia-like aspect might be shown here? And I think partially because I'm not sure what Luffy is doing in this next part. Now, we come to see Kaido bite Luffy, in which something very strange happens here. We come to see that Luffy's awakening doesn't only affect his surroundings, but also the individuals that he's touching. In this case, Kaido's body turns into a balloon when Kaido swallowed him. Of course, this is the result of Luffy expanding in Kaido's body, but Kaido's body doesn't rip because he's now very rubber-like. And this definitely tells me something. It tells me that Luffy is just enjoying this fight. He doesn't seem to care about the outcome of what is happening, because if he truly wanted to win, he wouldn't have turned Kaido's body into rubber. He would have just left his body in its normal state and then exploded from within. So what I think is happening here is Luffy is just having as much fun as he wants to. Not saying that he's forgotten about the war and everything, but he's definitely taking the fun aspect with much more priority than actually winning. And it could also tell us that his mastery of his fruit isn't really there yet. Again, awakening, from what we know, we thought it was mastery, but based on what we saw from Law and Kid, awakening seems to be a stage in which you still have to train your abilities to perfection. So I think Luffy doesn't have that much control over it yet. And his demeanor is one of the things that is definitely unsettling, because even though we know that Luffy was a very goofy, fighter, this is taking that to a whole new level of goofiness, where he's sort of reality bending everything into like a cartoon like effect. So I can see how a lot of people wouldn't like this, because it changes the tone of this fight to a more less serious tone, even though we know that this battle pretty much the fate of thousands of people, right? The inhabitants of Wano, the Straw Hat Pirates, Law and Kid. Like, this is a huge battle, but the tone of this battle seems a lot less serious now. And I think Oda may have something in store. It's more about the end result I think Oda is focusing on here, rather than what's happening in actuality, right? He's doing this for a reason, to show us something later on. And again, I'm not sure what that is, but this is definitely done here for a purpose. But going going back into the fight here, while Luffy was in Kaido's stomach, we come to see that he's able to phase through Kaido's head and grab onto his nose. And I was thinking perhaps this is the Logia-like aspect to the fruit, in which he becomes somewhat intangible, and the things that he touches, he can phase through them. Again, I'm not sure that's what it is, but this is definitely way beyond the boundaries of what rubber can do, right? I think that everything in this chapter can be justified or explained, but the phasing thing is the one thing where I'm just like, wait, this shouldn't be happening. And it seems to be one aspect of his power that we truly don't understand yet. But again, Luffy's awakening that I'm not really sure what's going on anymore. Now, we also come to see Giant Luffy in this chapter, and this is something that I think a lot of people expected from this form, because it was said that Luffy's body has become more rubbery now. So we expected him to have more control over his rubber, and we can see it here where the limitations of what he can do with rubber has been removed, and we come to see a giant-like form of Luffy literally about to stomp Kaido out. And I have to say that that was a really cool panel, because Luffy looks like an actual god in that page. And it gets even crazier, in which Luffy uses Kaido as a jump rope, which is absolutely insane, because who would have thought Kaido would be used as a jump rope, right? Like, this fight turned out to be something no one expected. And yes, this is absolutely ridiculous. Something that we also need to talk about is Luffy's immunity to haki infused blows. Now, again, I'm not sure if he's taking damage or he's just that much durable, or he's absorbing the impact of the damage. We don't know what's going on here, because here we see that Luffy is able to take a named attack from Kaido, the 3-World Conquest. The attack hits him, but there's something much more going on here, in which there doesn't seem to be that much damage inflicted on Luffy's body, right? He takes the hit, then something goofy happens, and then he recovers. That seems to be the chain of events for the majority of this fight. And of course, the result that you come to is that he is somewhat immune to physical attacks. And it's not even just brunt blows, but also potentially slicing attacks, so sword attacks, because we know that Kaido's club has, spikes on it, so that should have punctured him, but Luffy still didn't take any damage. So there's obviously more that's going on here that we're not aware of, because again, it's not only just ornament attacks, it's Conqueror's ornament infused attacks that Luffy is able to brush off, right? So again, strange things are happening here. It's making a lot more sense as to why this fruit is called the most ridiculous power in the world, because it is ridiculous. Like, what is happening? Now, as I expected, there is some sort of drawback to Gear 5. Not necessarily a drawback, but more of a downtime, in which after using all his techniques, he gets into this weakened state, right? So weak that it almost seems like he's dying. And the funniest thing about this is that Kaido is just baffled to no end. He doesn't understand what's going on. He understands the zone aspect and the paramecia, but apart from that, he is just in shock as to what is happening. So I found his reaction to be quite funny. But going back to Gear 5 here, we see that this power doesn't come freely like a lot of people thought it would. There seems to be more that's going on. And even Momonosuke mentions that Luffy's voice is fading, so we know that he's getting exhausted every time he uses it. So it seems like there's a stamina effect to it, just like Law and Kids, but there might be more that we don't know. But what we do know is that this form has given Luffy a newfound power to innovative, creative, and versatile. He's taking those aspects to a whole new level now. And again, even Kaido mentions that he's never seen anyone fight with such freedom and versatility. Luffy seems to be just having fun with this battle. And again, it feels like Luffy is a completely different person. Now, Luffy was goofy before, but this is on a whole new level of goofiness. I do also want to point out that Kaido mentions that Luffy's transformation is pure white, because a lot of people originally thought it was a fire-like transformation, or like Luffy's hair was on fire, but it seems like everything about his clothes is changed, like his whole body is just pure white. So definitely a very interesting change of design for Luffy. Definitely adds into the godlike status that he's in right now. Now we end off the chapter with Luffy using that phasing ability once again. And again, guys, as I mentioned before, I am not sure what this is. I did speculate that it could be the Logia-like effect, in which he's able to phase through anything that he's touching, but I'm not exactly sure how that works, like how rubber is capable of doing that, because that is clearly something that shouldn't be done with his fruit. But again, they did mention that his fruit was something that was powered by his imagination, so you can't really go wrong there. But I think we definitely do need some explanations as to what is happening. Now, I will say that even though I found the chapter to be very weird, it was hype. Like, seeing Luffy in that giant god form was absolutely insane. But again, we just need a lot more answers now, more so than questions, right? I think we're done with questions when it comes to Oda. We need answers. So again, I'll see what comes out of this, because I think the end goal is more important than what's happening in actuality, because that's what Oda tends to focus a lot of the times. So we'll see what comes out of this. But that is pretty much it for this video. I would appreciate it if you dropped a like, comment down below what you guys think about Luffy's new powers, subscribe if you're new here, and hit the bell if you want to see more content on this channel. You can follow me on Twitter at FerroSpace, but it is Ferro, guys, and I will see you folks later. Peace.